Good evening, this is Feng Shui Radio. It's time once again to share the stories hidden deep within your hearts. Tonight, we have something especially chilling for you. A true account of one family's misfortunes, all tied to the objects they should never have kept inside their home. At first glance, these items seemed like ordinary decorations or everyday household goods. But unseen forces lingered within them, shaking the very foundation of that family's life. And here's the shocking part. The same could be true in your own home. Are you glancing around your room right now, wondering? Could something sitting quietly on your shelf be carrying an energy you'd rather not invite in? If you feel even a hint of unease, stay with us until the very end of tonight's story. Now, let's listen to the vivid testimony of Ms. Choi Young-hee.
My name is Choi Young-hee, and I am 64 years old. These days, I live alone in an apartment, but 15 years ago, I was raising my two sons with my husband in a small single-family home on the outskirts of Seoul. Looking back, I think of that time as the happiest period of my life. My husband, Young-soo, ran a small trading company. Our older son, Junho, was in 8th grade, and our younger son, Minho, was in 5th. I helped support the family by running a little side dish shop near our home. Our house was a modest 2-story home, about 30 pyong in size, with a small yard and plenty of sunlight. I loved it. On the first floor we had the living room, kitchen, and master bedroom. Upstairs were the boys' rooms and a little utility room. It wasn't large, but for us, it was the perfect nest. Our daily life back then couldn't have been more ordinary. My husband left for work before dawn and returned late at night. I made breakfast for the kids, sent them off to school, and then went to the shop. In the afternoons, I'd cook dinner while the boys did their homework, and at night, we'd all wind down together, watching TV. On weekends, we sometimes went hiking in the nearby hills or had picnics by the Han River. Junho loved soccer and played with the local club, while Minho took piano lessons. It was an ordinary life, filled with small, precious joys. But in hindsight, I realized that the peace of those days began to unravel the moment those objects entered our home. At first, I thought the incidents that followed were all unrelated. Now, I know exactly where the misfortune began. It was May of 2009, a warm spring day. My longtime friend Mijong came to visit. She loved flower arranging, and she showed up carrying a large basket of flowers. Young-hee, I brought this for your house. Isn't it beautiful? And it truly was. Red roses, white lilies, and yellow carnations, all tied together with lush green leaves that looked full of life. What amazed me most was how real the flowers looked. Wow, they're gorgeous. Wait, are these artificial? Yes. These days, the quality is so good you can hardly tell the difference. No water, no wilting. They're effortless. I'd always loved flowers but never had the time to care for real ones. They wilt too quickly. They need constant watering and attention. So, I was delighted with the gift. Thank you, Mijong. This will really brighten up the living room. Exactly. Why not put it right there, on the table next to the TV? Together, we placed the basket on the wooden table beside the television. The atmosphere of the living room changed instantly. What had been plain and simple now looked like the lobby of a luxury hotel. For a few days, I was thrilled. Every guest who came by said, "Those flowers are so lovely," and I felt proud. Even the kids said, "Mom, our house looks so much nicer now." But about a week later, something strange began to creep in. The air inside the house felt different, heavier, stifling somehow. At first, I blamed the weather. After all, it was the beginning of the rainy season. But the hygrometer showed no unusual humidity. Even with the dehumidifier running, the damp, suffocating feeling never went away. Then the boys began catching colds, one after the other. Junho first, then Minho. I thought it was nothing serious, but the strange part was how the colds lingered. What should have passed in a week dragged on for 2, even 3 weeks. Their coughing was so bad at night, they could hardly sleep. About a month later, while cleaning, I took a closer look at the artificial flowers. And I froze. There were black specks scattered across the petals. At first, I thought it was dust. But looking closely, it seemed more like mold. That's odd. How could fake flowers grow mold? And it wasn't just that. Some petals were stained with brownish marks, like old bloodstains, or rust. What chilled me most was that the stains seemed to spread day by day. What began on just one or two petals slowly crept across the others. I picked up the phone and called Mijong to ask about it. Mijong, where did you buy that flower arrangement? Why? Is something wrong with it? No, it's so beautiful. I was curious where you got it. Oh, that? I bought it at the Dongdaemun wholesale market. Actually, I got it really cheap. It was originally worth 200,000 won, but I only paid 50,000. Why would they sell it for so little? I don't know. The vendor just seemed eager to get rid of it. I didn't ask why. After I hung up, an uneasy feeling settled over me. Why had someone been so desperate to sell such an expensive arrangement at such a low price? About a month and a half later, one late night, I was sitting on the living room sofa watching TV. I had finished a long day at the side dish shop and housework had kept me up later than usual. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a strange shadow outside the window. At first, I thought it was just the streetlight, but the shadow moved, as if someone was walking through our yard. Could it be a burglar? Carefully, I went to the window and peeked through the curtains. But there was no one there. Strange, I was certain I'd seen something. Just then, my husband's voice startled me from behind. What are you looking at? Oh, I didn't hear you get up. I was heading to the bathroom and saw the light on in the living room. I thought I saw someone outside. He peered out the window too, but saw nothing. Then he said something that sent a chill down my spine. Odd, doesn't that flower arrangement smell strange? I walked over and yes, there was a smell. Sweet, yet sour, like something rotting. It was nothing like the fragrance of flowers. How could fake flowers smell like this? That night, I could hardly sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about the flowers, and that shadow outside. 2 nights later, something even stranger happened. Minho, who usually slept soundly, suddenly woke in the middle of the night screaming. Mom, Mom, I rushed into his room. He was drenched in cold sweat, trembling. Minho, what happened? Did you have a nightmare? Mom, I dreamed something scary. The flowers in the living room, the flowers? What about them? They started to wither, turning black, and bugs were crawling out of them. It was so scary. I tried to soothe him, telling myself it was just a child's nightmare. But the very next day, Junho said he'd had a similar dream. Mom, I dreamed something weird too. The flowers in the living room, they were making strange noises. 2 children, both having nightmares about the same flowers. It was too much to dismiss as coincidence. Had my own unease about the flowers somehow affected them? 3 days later, the truth finally came out. Mijong called me in a panic. Young-hee, I'm so sorry. Something terrible happened. What is it? It's about the flowers, actually, that arrangement. She hesitated for a long moment, then confessed something that froze my blood. That arrangement came from a funeral. The wholesaler called me afterward to explain. He said he accidentally sold it off as a regular decoration. What did you just say? It had been used at a funeral for over a month. An elderly woman's funeral. The family didn't take it back, so the wholesaler picked it up cheap and resold it. I swear, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I hung up the phone, and goosebumps rose all over my body. A funeral arrangement, sitting in my living room for over a month. That explained the strange smell, the spreading mold, and why the children had such terrifying dreams. That night, I examined the flowers closely. And then I saw it. A small tag tucked at the bottom of the basket. On it were the words, "With deepest condolences to the late Mrs. Park Soon-ya." It was only then that everything became clear. The artificial flowers in our home weren't just a decoration, they were meant for the dead. And somehow, we had invited them inside our living space. The next morning at dawn, I hurried to get rid of them. But as I lifted the basket, something even more disturbing happened. Pooling beneath it was a dark liquid. The flowers were leaking black water. It reeked of decay, like rotting meat. What on earth is this? Even worse, the liquid left a deep, dark stain on the table surface. No matter how hard I scrubbed, the mark would not come off. Once the flowers were gone, the atmosphere inside the house changed almost instantly. The heavy, suffocating air vanished. When I opened the windows, the breeze felt fresher than it had in weeks. That very evening, the children remarked, "Mom, why does the house feel so bright all of a sudden?" It was unbelievable. Removing just one flower arrangement had transformed the entire mood of the home. Within days, the boys' colds also disappeared. The coughing that had lingered for weeks stopped as if by magic. But this was only the beginning. There were far more frightening objects yet to come into our home. About a month after the flower incident, my husband, Young-soo, returned from a business trip to China. It had been a 4-day trip to establish new trade partners, an important journey. "I'm home." He looked more cheerful than usual. "I guess the trip had gone well. How did it go? Did you close the deal?" "Well, nothing's finalized yet, but the talks went smoothly. I'll likely go back next month to seal the contract." He opened his suitcase and began handing out gifts. A pearl necklace for me, traditional Chinese snacks and toys for the children. "And this," he said, pulling out one last item, "is something I brought back to decorate the house." What he set down was a metal ornament about 60 centimeters tall. It was shaped like a pagoda, with multiple tiers, each adorned with sharp, pointed embellishments. "What is that?" "It's a traditional Chinese decoration. The shop owner said it would be good to place in the home. It's supposed to ward off bad luck and invite prosperity." The ornament did look imposing. Gold and silver gleamed together, its surface etched with intricate designs. But something about it felt harsh. Those sharp spires on each level looked more like spearheads than decoration. "Where should we put it?" "Near the entrance. It'll be the first thing people see when they walk in." So, we placed it on a small stand beside the front door. At first, it seemed fine. The entryway looked a bit more sophisticated. But a week later, Minho came home from school, took off his shoes, and accidentally brushed against the ornament. Ow! His hand was bleeding. The sharp edge of the ornament had sliced the back of his hand. "Oh no, Minho. Are you okay?" The cut was deeper than expected. A 2-centimeter gash from just a slight scrape. Blood kept flowing. "Mom, it really hurts." I cleaned the wound, applied ointment, and bandaged it. But strangely, it wouldn't heal. Even after several days, he complained it still hurt. How odd. Why won't such a small wound get better? What unsettled me more was that accidents kept happening around that ornament. A week after Minho's injury, Junho tripped at the entrance. He'd never fallen there before, but suddenly his foot twisted out from under him. "How did you fall?" "I don't know, Mom. My foot just gave out." He scraped his knee, and it happened right in front of the ornament. 2 days later, my husband left for work, only to bump his forehead against the front door as he went out. Ordinarily, my husband was not the kind of man to make careless mistakes, but that night, it was as if he had misjudged the very height of the door. "Are you okay, honey?" "Yeah, I'm fine. But, strange, why did the door suddenly feel lower than usual? Could all these accidents at the entrance really be just coincidence?" I was beginning to suspect the ornament. And it wasn't only our family that suffered. A month later, the elderly woman next door tripped while walking past our house. Oh my, she twisted her ankle right in front of our gate. She'd always been healthy and steady on her feet, but suddenly she lost her balance and fell. "Ma'am, are you all right?" "Oh, my ankle hurts. Oddly, I just felt dizzy all of a sudden." We rushed her to the hospital, and thankfully there were no major injuries. But after that, her attitude toward our house changed. "Every time I pass in front of your place, I feel uncomfortable." And she wasn't the only one. Even the delivery man commented uneasily whenever he dropped off packages. "Ma'am, that thing at your entrance, it looks dangerous." "What do you mean?" "That sharp object. Someone could bump into it." That's when it finally struck me. The ornament wasn't just affecting us, it was unsettling everyone who came near our home. Worse still was what began happening inside the house. 2 months after we placed the ornament, a strange tension settled over the family. My husband grew unusually irritable. He snapped over the smallest things, often yelling at the children. If shoes were left out of place near the door, or if an umbrella wasn't properly put away, he simply couldn't tolerate it. "Why is this so messy? The entrance looks awful." "Honey, it's just a little clutter." "Why are you so angry?" "I'm not angry. The house just can't be like this." Even the children changed. Junho and Minho, who usually got along, began fighting constantly, especially at the entrance, over shoes. "Don't touch my shoes." "I didn't. You're the one who didn't put them back." "Liar. You took my spot first." Before, such little things would never have caused fights. But now, every tiny incident ignited anger. I too began feeling different. More sensitive, more easily irritated. I developed a kind of obsession with keeping the entryway perfectly neat. If anything was out of order, I couldn't stand it. And the bad influence of the ornament reached even further. It seeped into my husband's work. The contract with his new Chinese business partner suddenly fell through. Everything had been agreed upon, but at the final meeting, the partner abruptly changed his mind. It doesn't make sense. Everything was set. My husband sank into days of depression. That deal would have greatly improved our financial situation. And it didn't stop there. Even his longtime business partners began acting strangely. A company he'd worked with for over 20 years suddenly demanded new terms, outrageous conditions. When he refused, they threatened to end the contract altogether. Why are all these things happening, one after another? At night, he began drinking heavily. A man who rarely touched alcohol was now drowning himself in soju almost every evening. 3 months after we placed the ornament, something terrifying happened. In the middle of the night, we heard a strange noise at the entrance. Clang, clang. It sounded like metal striking metal. At first, I thought it was the wind, but even with the windows tightly shut, the sound continued. "Do you hear that, honey?" "Yes." "What is it?" "It's coming from the entryway." We went together to check. Nothing seemed out of place. But as we approached the ornament, the noise grew louder. Could it be coming from this thing? Looking closer, I saw it. The sharp spires of the ornament were trembling, vibrating ever so slightly, as though touched by invisible hands. How can that be? Why is it shaking? From that night on, the sound tormented us. Every night, the same metallic ringing. Clang, clang, and we could no longer sleep in peace. I couldn't take it anymore. So I went online to search for information about the ornament. Using the photo my husband had taken, I did an image search, and what I discovered shocked me. That ornament wasn't a traditional Chinese decoration at all. It was, in fact, a ritual object used in Chinese tombs. More specifically, it was something called a soul tower, an item placed on the graves of those who had died with resentment or unresolved grudges. What is this? The more I read, the worse it became. It was said that if such a soul tower were brought into a home, the family would be haunted by the spirit's bitterness. The many sharp points, in particular, were believed to summon violent, harmful energy. How could my husband have bought something like this? I called him to ask, and his reply left me speechless. The shopkeeper told me it would ward off bad luck, remember? But now that I think about it, his expression seemed a little strange. He looked like he was in a hurry to get rid of it. "How much did you pay?" He said it was $100, but gave it to me for $30. It was so cheap I thought it was suspicious. So it was true. That shopkeeper had been desperate to get rid of it. Who knows what kind of trouble the item had already caused. The next morning, I made up my mind to throw it out. But it wasn't easy. First of all, it was heavy. Much heavier than it looked. At least 20 kilos. And the moment I touched it, I felt something unnatural. Though made of cold metal, it felt strangely warm, almost alive. Worse yet, its surface was sticky, and even with gloves on, the stickiness seemed to seep through. Why does it feel like this? The strangest part was that the moment I lifted it, the whole atmosphere of the house changed. The suffocating weight in the air suddenly lifted, and the rooms felt lighter, easier to breathe in. After I removed the ornament completely, the changes were remarkable. The strange metallic sounds stopped at once. At night, the house grew silent, and we could sleep deeply again. The family's temperaments returned to normal. My husband no longer obsessed over the neatness of the entryway. The boys began getting along again, just like before. "Mom, doesn't Dad seem so much better lately?" "Really? How so?" "Well, before, even the smallest mess would make him yell, but now he just laughs it off." It was astonishing. All that from simply removing one ornament. Even my husband's business began to recover. A new client reached out to set up a meeting, and disputes with long-term partners were finally resolved. But all of this was nothing compared to what would come next. The worst was still ahead. Because the last set of objects to enter our home would cause the greatest trouble of all. After experiencing the curses of the artificial flowers and the metal ornament, I grew more cautious about what we brought into the house. But circumstances forced us into a difficult choice. That autumn, my husband's business took a downturn. Several contracts fell through one after another, and our finances grew tight. At the same time, our bedroom furniture, the wardrobe and bed, had grown too old and worn to keep. We can't afford to buy new furniture right now. Then let's buy second-hand. These days, you can find used furniture in great condition. I agreed. We simply couldn't afford new pieces, and honestly, I thought there was nothing wrong with buying second-hand. On an online resale site, I found a great deal. A luxury solid wood wardrobe and bed set, being sold for half price. Wow, this would cost at least $3 million new, but they're selling it for $1.5 million? The photos looked incredible. Solid wood, barely a scratch. I contacted the seller and arranged to see it in person. The address was in Gangnam, in a very upscale neighborhood. Welcome, right this way. The seller was a woman in her mid-40s. Something about her seemed off. She looked anxious, almost eager to be rid of the furniture. The condition is excellent. Why are you selling it? Oh, I'm moving. The new place already has furniture, so I don't need this anymore. In person, the pieces looked even better. They were elegant, well-maintained, and the wardrobe even had a mirror inside. Is the price negotiable? Yes, I'd like to get rid of it quickly. I can give it to you for 1.3 million won. For such fine furniture, 1.3 million was an absolute bargain. We signed the deal immediately and arranged for delivery 2 days later. When the movers brought the furniture, even they marveled. Wow, this is really fine furniture. Looks practically new. Once the pieces were set up in our bedroom, the atmosphere of the room transformed. It looked like something out of a luxury hotel. Unbelievable. I can't believe we got all this for that price. My husband was pleased, and the kids were fascinated. Mom, the wardrobe is huge. And it even has a mirror. That night, we slept in our new bed. The mattress was firm and luxurious, and the frame felt solid and strong. But just before I fell asleep, something strange happened. A woman's voice, so faint I couldn't tell if it was a dream or reality, whispered. "This is my place." The voice was too quiet for my husband to hear. Maybe it was just a dream, I thought, and brushed it off. The next morning, however, my husband said something that made my blood run cold. "I had a strange dream last night." "What kind of dream?" "I saw a woman I didn't recognize standing in front of the wardrobe. She looked about 30, and she was wearing a hanbok." I was stunned. I had had a similar dream. I dreamed something odd too. A woman whispered, "This is my place." Really? Must just be a coincidence. But it wasn't. That very night, we dreamed of her again. Only this time, the dream was even clearer. In the dream, she was opening the wardrobe, arranging clothes inside, moving about as if the room belonged to her. "Why are you here?" she asked us. "This is my room. Get out." Her voice was cold, chilling. I woke drenched in sweat, trembling. From about a week after the new furniture arrived, strange events began piling up. First, my husband's business took a major blow. A key client we had worked with for 5 years suddenly cancelled their contract. What reason did they give? They wouldn't say, just that something came up. That client accounted for nearly 30% of our revenue. With the contract gone, our finances spiraled. Then, the following week, Junho suddenly developed severe stomach pain. It was the morning of his midterm exams. He doubled over, unable to leave the bathroom. "Mom, it hurts so bad. I don't think I can take the test." I rushed him to the hospital, but the tests showed nothing unusual. Still, the pain persisted, and he missed the exam entirely. The very next day, something worse happened. Minho fell down the stairs at school. Oh no, I got an urgent call. Minho had tumbled down from the second floor and hit his head. When I arrived at the hospital, he was conscious, but there was a large bump on his head. "Are you okay, Minho?" "Mom, my head hurts." Thankfully, the scans showed no brain damage, but he needed at least a week of rest. "How did you fall?" "I don't know. Suddenly, I couldn't see. Everything went dark, and I slipped. It made no sense. Minho had always been careful and energetic. Such an accident was completely unlike him. And amid all this chaos, my side dish shop began to suffer. Longtime customers suddenly stopped coming. Even those who had been loyal for over 20 years. "Ma'am, your food tastes a little different lately." "Different? How so? I can't explain it. Maybe too salty?" "It's just not like before." It baffled me. I had been cooking the same way I always had. I hadn't changed the recipe. I bought the same ingredients from the same supplier. And yet, when I tasted the food, something was wrong. Even though I had added the usual amount of salt, it tasted overly salty. And worse, there was a bitter aftertaste. Why does it taste like this? No matter how many times I tried, it was the same. Following the recipe made no difference. The flavor was simply off. One by one, my regular customers stopped coming. Sales dropped to less than half. Amid all these misfortunes, I stumbled upon something shocking. While cleaning out the wardrobe, I discovered an old envelope hidden deep inside the bottom drawer. It must have been left behind by the previous owner. What is this? The envelope was yellowed with age. Inside was a handwritten letter. As I read it, chills spread over my body. To my beloved Minsu, I can't endure this any longer. I can't forgive you for betraying me, for going to another woman, or for telling me to give up our child. Once I finish this letter, I will no longer be in this world. But my resentment will remain here forever. In this room, in this wardrobe, waiting for the day when you receive your punishment. The meaning was unmistakable. The wardrobe's previous owner had taken her own life. After finding the letter, I examined the furniture more closely. There were more clues. In the corner of the wardrobe mirror, tiny words were etched. "What is lost, can never be regained." On the back of the wardrobe was a red stain. At first, it looked like spilled wine or juice, but on closer inspection, it seemed like something else. The bed held its own horrors. When I flipped the mattress, one corner was stained brown, and from that spot came a faint odor of decay. What is this? Searching further, I discovered something hidden inside the bed frame, a small box. Inside were a photograph of a young woman, and a pregnancy test. The woman in the photo was the very same woman I had seen in my dreams. The test showed positive. Oh my God, the pieces began to fit together. A woman named Sujin, betrayed by her lover, pregnant and abandoned, had taken her own life. And her resentment had seeped into the furniture itself. The next day, I called the woman who had sold us the furniture. I needed the truth. "Hello, I'm the one who bought the furniture from you." "Oh, yes, what's the matter? Do you know anything about the previous owner of these pieces?" There was silence on the other end for a long moment. Why are you asking that? Strange things have been happening. Did something happen with this furniture? At last, she confessed. Actually, the furniture belonged to my sister. She passed away last year. How? She took her own life. Her boyfriend betrayed her, and she was pregnant. Left all alone. Why didn't you tell me this? Who would have bought it if I had? I suffered too, because of that furniture. After my sister died, whenever it was in the house, strange things happened at night. I'd hear the wardrobe opening, clothes rustling, and sometimes, sobbing sounds from the bed. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I had to sell it. When I hung up the phone, regret crashed over me. Why had I ever bought furniture with such a past? But by then, it was far too late. 3 days after learning the truth about the furniture, a decisive incident occurred. That night, my husband came home drunk. Business troubles had been piling up, and the stress had clearly gotten to him. At dinner with colleagues, he had drunk far more than usual. All of this, it's all because of something, he muttered, staggering toward the wardrobe, as though to change his clothes. Be careful, honey. But the moment he opened the wardrobe door, crash, the sound of shattering glass filled the room, followed by his cry of pain. I rushed over to find the mirror inside the wardrobe broken to pieces, his wrist slashed by the shards. Oh my God, blood was pouring out. I quickly wrapped his arm with a towel to stop the bleeding and rushed him to the hospital. What happened? The doctor asked. I just opened the door and suddenly the mirror shattered. I didn't even open it that hard. The wound was deep and required several stitches. Thankfully, No nerves or arteries were damaged, but the doctor warned a scar would remain. The strangest part was the way the mirror had broken. When we returned home, I examined it closely. The cracks radiated outward, as if someone had struck it from the inside. That's impossible. It looks like it shattered from within. At that moment, I knew with certainty. We could no longer keep this furniture in our home. I couldn't endure it any longer. The flowers, the ornament, the furniture, every object we had brought in had brought only misfortune. The next day, I sought out one of my longtime customers, an elderly woman named Mrs. Park. She had been interested in feng shui and fortune-telling since her youth, and was known to have deep knowledge. "Grandmother, would you have time to come see our home?" "What's wrong?" I poured out everything that had happened, the artificial flowers, the metal ornament, and finally, the second-hand furniture. "You brought into your home things that should never be there." Her expression grew grave. "Are those objects still inside?" "The ornament is gone, but the furniture is still here. It's too big to move." "Then we must go to your home immediately." When we arrived, she frowned the instant she stepped inside. "The energy here is heavy. The yin is overwhelming." She walked slowly through the living room, the kitchen, and finally into the master bedroom. The moment she entered, her face tightened with alarm. "Oh, where did this furniture come from?" "We bought it second-hand. These pieces are steeped in powerful resentment. Especially this wardrobe." She closed her eyes and stood before it, as if sensing something unseen. The spirit of a woman who died in anguish is bound to this. Most likely the previous owner. She was betrayed and ended her own life. "How do you know that?" "I can feel it. She harbors deep hatred toward men. That's why the men of this household have suffered." Her words explained everything. My husband's business failures, Junho's stomach pain, Minho's accident, all had afflicted only the men. She also explained the other objects. The artificial flowers symbolized death. Especially those from a funeral. They're the worst. Lifeless flowers drain the vitality from a household. So, should artificial flowers never be kept at home? Not all of them. But those used for the dead must never be brought inside. They carry the energy of death. And the ornament? Sharp decorations attract killing energy. A Chinese soul tower, in particular, is meant to appease the dead. Placed in a home, it wounds the living, breeds quarrels, and brings misfortune. Then what about this furniture? What should we do? It must be removed at once. But you can't simply throw it away. It needs a proper ritual. A ritual? Yes, a ceremony to soothe the dead and send them away. Only then can you prevent their curse from harming others. Grandmother Park explained in detail what needed to be done before disposing of the furniture. First, you must perform a purification ritual. Circle the furniture with coarse salt, light incense to cleanse the bad energy, and pray sincerely for the soul of the dead to be at peace. Can you perform it for us? Of course, but your whole family must take part. It only works if you truly apologize and ask for forgiveness. That evening, she returned to help us with the ritual. All of us participated. Scatter salt around the furniture, she instructed. We spread coarse sea salt in a circle around the wardrobe and bed. Then we lit incense. Now bow before it and ask forgiveness, she said. As a family, we knelt before the wardrobe and prayed silently. Miss Sujin, we are sorry for using your belongings without knowing. Please, rest in peace. Something remarkable happened during the ritual. A sudden cold breeze swept through the room, and the incense smoke twisted into strange shapes. She accepts it, grandmother whispered with relief. When the ritual was finished, the atmosphere in the house changed instantly. The heavy, suffocating air lifted, and the feeling of oppression disappeared. The next day, we called a disposal company to remove the wardrobe and bed. It was a company recommended by grandmother, one that specialized in handling furniture with such histories. These kinds of pieces are usually burned at a temple, the owner explained. Cremation purifies them best. The moment the furniture left our home, a dramatic change occurred. The entire house brightened, and the children said, "Mom, why does the house feel so much lighter?" That very night, the strange dreams ceased. The unsettling noises that haunted us also vanished. Once the furniture was gone, our lives slowly returned to normal. The first change came with my husband's business. Just a week later, a new client reached out. offering a long-term, 3-year contract on better terms than before. Honey, amazing news. We landed a new deal. Really? Yes, and it's far better than the last one. It was the first time in a long while that he smiled brightly. He had grown so thin from stress, but now, he looked alive again. The children recovered too. Junho's stomach pains disappeared, and Minho's head injury healed quickly. Mom, I feel so much better these days. Really? How so? Before, I always felt heavy and tired, but now I feel light again. My side dish shop also revived. Customers returned, and most importantly, the food tasted as it used to. Ma'am, your dishes taste like before again. Really? Yes, this is the flavor we remember. It amazed me. I had never changed the recipe, yet somehow, the taste itself had returned. But the greatest change was in the atmosphere of our home. The family's relationships improved. The children, who had been quarreling often, were close again. And my husband returned to his gentle self. Dad, you seem happier these days. Do I? Maybe I am. You're smiling more. And it was true. He laughed again, made jokes, and even played with the kids. The very house itself felt different. Before, it had been heavy and suffocating. Now, it was warm, welcoming, full of comfort. I never realized our home could feel so good. Guests began visiting again. Those who once felt uneasy now said, "What a lovely home you have." We still needed new furniture for the bedroom. This time, we were careful. Following grandmother's advice, we chose brand new pieces, not second-hand. New furniture carries clean energy, she told us. Especially solid wood. It breathes life into the home. At the department store, we bought a new set of wooden furniture. It felt perfect, and for the first time in months, we could finally breathe easy. The design was beautiful, but more than that, the feeling was right. Once the new furniture arrived, our bedroom felt completely different, bright, warm, and peaceful. I sleep so well now, I told my husband. Me too, he replied. It feels like I fall into a deep sleep without even dreaming. The new furniture gave off a soft, pleasant scent of wood. After hearing our story, neighbors and friends began sharing their own experiences. Our next-door neighbor said, "We once bought a second-hand wardrobe too, and after that, our house turned upside down." How so? I asked. Things kept disappearing, strange noises at night. In the end, we just threw it out. One of my regular customers at the shop also shared her story. I used to love artificial flowers, so I decorated the house with them. But my family kept getting sick. When I asked a feng shui reader, they told me never to keep fake flowers at home. So what did you do? I cleared them all out. And wouldn't you know it, no one got sick anymore. Grandmother Park used our ordeal to teach us more about feng shui. A house is not just a space. It's where the energy of people and the energy of objects come together. So what objects are good, and what are bad? I asked. First, anything related to death must never be kept at home. Artificial flowers, funeral items, objects taken from graves, and so on. Second, sharp objects are harmful, especially in places people pass through often, like the entrance or the living room. Third, be careful with items used by others. The more personal the object, the more dangerous it can be. Beds, wardrobes, mirrors, those especially. So what kind of objects are good? Natural materials, she said. Wood, stone, natural fibers. And living plants are the best. Living plants? Yes. Real flowers, real trees. They carry life energy that brings vitality into the home. The exact opposite of artificial ones. We followed her advice and completely changed our home's interior. We threw out every artificial flower and replaced them with potted plants. In the living room, we placed a tall palm. In the entrance, a sansevieria, and in the bedroom, a pothos. Wow, the house feels so fresh now. The plants transformed the atmosphere. The air seemed cleaner, and even the scent of the house improved. At the entrance, instead of sharp ornaments, we placed a round ceramic pot. Its soft curves made the entryway feel warmer. In the living room, we arranged wooden decor, a wooden clock, photo frames, and small carvings, all newly bought. Now it really feels like home, my husband said with a smile. From all this, our family developed new habits. First, we would always check the history of second-hand items before buying them, especially personal ones. Second, any new item brought into the house had to be agreed upon by the whole family, particularly large furniture or decorations. Third, we decided to do regular deep cleanings, throwing out old or unnecessary things. Fourth, we committed to keeping more living plants, since we had experienced firsthand how they purified the air and brought positive energy. Even our strained relationships with neighbors began to heal. The elderly woman next door said, "It feels comfortable to walk past your house again." Really? Yes. Before, something felt heavy. Now, I feel good whenever I pass by. The awkwardness from her fall was gone, and things returned to normal. Even the delivery man noticed. "Your home feels wonderful now," he told us. How so? Before, I didn't even want to step inside. But these days, walking in makes me feel better. It was astonishing. It really did seem like people could sense the energy of a place. After everything was resolved, Grandmother Park shared deeper insights into feng shui. Many people think feng shui is just superstition. But in truth, there's a scientific basis to it. What do you mean? I asked. For example, people say sharp objects cause accidents. Psychologically, that's true. When you see something sharp, your body tenses unconsciously, and that makes accidents more likely. It made sense. When we had sharp ornaments in the house, our whole family had been nervous and prone to getting hurt. And artificial flowers are the same, she continued. They block airflow, collect dust, and sometimes release chemical odors. All of that harms your health. Then why are second-hand items considered dangerous? Objects can really carry the scent, germs, or even viruses of their previous owners. That's especially true for personal items like beds or wardrobes. And beyond that, they can affect us psychologically as well. Hearing Grandmother Park's explanation, I realized feng shui wasn't just superstition. Later, I researched online and found that many feng shui principles could indeed be explained scientifically. For example, the feng shui belief that keeping plants inside the home is beneficial. Science shows that plants purify the air and help regulate humidity. The idea that sharp objects cause accidents also has roots in environmental psychology. Studies have shown that sharp corners and pointed objects increase stress hormones in the body. And the dangers of second-hand goods? Those, too, could be explained. Bacteria, viruses, dust mites, and mold from previous users could linger, especially in mattresses or bedding, which can be even riskier. But not everything could be explained by science alone. The psychological impact was powerful too. If we believe an object is bad, Grandmother Park said, we really can become stressed because of it. But if we believe an object is good, it can lift our spirits, improve our health, and even help our work go well. In truth, once we began thinking of the artificial flowers, the ornament, and the furniture as harmful, we paid more attention to them, and in doing so, noticed more problems. But what mattered most were the results. After removing those items, our family's life truly improved. Through this whole ordeal, I came to see our home differently. A house isn't just a place to eat and sleep, it's where our family's energy gathers. And that energy interacts with everything inside it. Good objects create good energy. Bad objects create bad energy. And that energy affects our moods, our health, our relationships, even our work. A home is like a bowl, Grandmother Park once said. If the bowl is clean, the food inside tastes good. If the bowl is dirty, even the best food loses its flavor. Just like she said, it was important to keep our bowl, our home, clean and positive. This experience showed me how closely the material and the spiritual are connected. The objects we see and touch each day influence our subconscious, and that, in turn, shapes our actions and choices. When we had sharp ornaments, we tensed unconsciously every time we saw them. That constant tension made us more irritable with each other. But when surrounded by warm, soft objects, our hearts relaxed, and we treated each other with more kindness. Exactly 1 year has passed since the incident. Our lives have completely changed. My husband's business is thriving, more than ever before. He's built strong relationships with new clients, and sales have grown significantly. Most of all, he has regained his confidence. Honey, Our sales this month are 50% higher than the same month last year. Really? That's amazing. Yes, clients are starting to trust our company more. We've even received several long-term contract offers. The children, too, are healthy and happy. Junho entered high school and has adjusted well to his new environment. Minho's piano skills have grown so much that he's been chosen to represent his school in a competition. Mom, I'm going to the national competition. Really? My Minho? Yes. My teacher said I've improved a lot. Even my side dish shop is doing better than ever. Not only did my old customers return, but many new ones began coming in. Ma'am, your food is so delicious. What's your secret? Oh, nothing special. I just make it with care. In truth, my recipes hadn't changed. But I think my mindset had. Cooking with a happier, more grateful heart seemed to make the food taste better. Those around us noticed the changes too. Mijong was the first to ask. Younghee, what happened to your home? The atmosphere is completely different. How so? Before, it always felt heavy and stifling. Now it's bright and warm. And your family's expressions are so much lighter. I told Mijong everything that had happened, from the artificial flowers to the ornaments and even the furniture. Really? That all happened? I'm so sorry. I was the one who gave you those flowers. It's okay. Because of that, I learned so much. After that, Mijong began to choose the items in her own home more carefully. And I realized many people in our neighborhood had gone through similar experiences. The grandmother next door told me, my daughter's family went through something like that too. They bought a used piano, and afterward, my daughter kept getting sick. What did you do? It turned out the piano's previous owner had been a musician who passed away young from illness. So we went to the temple to pray and then replaced the piano with a new one. And then, she got better as if nothing had ever happened. Since then, we never buy second-hand instruments. Another neighbor shared a story as well. Our family used to keep a lot of artificial flowers at home, but we were constantly sick, and nothing seemed to go right. When we cleared them out and replaced them with real plants, things improved immediately. Hearing all of these stories made me realize, our experience wasn't unique at all. 1 year later, Grandma Park gave me her final piece of advice. Younghee, now that you've been through this, you can help others. How? There are many people suffering from the same problems. If you share your story, it will help them. Her words made me determined. So I began posting my experiences online, in community forums. At first, I worried people wouldn't believe me. But to my surprise, many shared their own stories. I had a similar experience. I bought a second-hand vanity, and afterward, strange reflections started appearing in the mirror. Our family also struggled because of artificial flowers. The kids were constantly sick. We had sharp ornaments in our home, and family members kept getting hurt. Once we removed them, the accidents stopped. So many people had gone through the same thing. And many told me that after reading my story, they found their own solutions. Through all of this, our family developed new habits. First, careful selection of objects. We now check an item's history, materials, and purpose before bringing it into our home. We are especially cautious with second-hand goods. Second, regular home cleansing. Once a month, we do a full cleaning and remove unnecessary items, especially those old, broken, or tied to negative memories. Third, a nature-friendly interior. We prefer natural materials and living plants over artificial decorations. Our home feels fresher and healthier because of it. Fourth, stronger family communication. Anytime we change or bring in something new, we talk it over as a family. Even the children's opinions matter. This experience became an important lesson for the kids too. Junho, now a high school student, said the whole ordeal made him think deeply about the connection between matter and spirit. Mom, it's amazing. Just one object can change the whole mood of a home. Really? What do you think? I think objects carry energy. Some have good energy, and some have bad. Minho learned something too. Mom, from now on, whenever we buy something new, I'll ask where it came from. Why? Because objects can carry the feelings of their previous owners. If sadness is attached, it might make us sad too. It was a beautiful change, seeing my children think this way. Looking back after a year, I realized all those hardships had actually been blessings. If we hadn't gone through them, we would have kept living carelessly, never paying attention to the things we brought into our home, never truly appreciating one another. But through that trial, we learned so much. The meaning of home, the preciousness of family, the importance of choosing objects wisely, and even the unseen power of energy. Darling, do you think we could have been this happy if none of that had happened? Well, probably not. It was because of that experience that we realized what really matters. My husband felt the same way. We also began to hear stories from families who had found help through our experience. One family had suffered from unexplained misfortune for over 10 years, but their lives completely changed after removing an old second-hand wardrobe from their home. It's incredible. All we did was get rid of that wardrobe, and suddenly my husband's business started thriving, and the children became healthy again. Another family told us their story. After clearing out the artificial flowers in their living room and replacing them with real plants, their family relationships improved dramatically. Before, the house always felt stuffy, but now it truly feels like home. Every time I hear such stories, I feel grateful that I chose to share my own experience. Today, our family lives in true happiness. My husband's business continues to flourish. He has even hired several employees now. Most importantly, he finds deep fulfillment in his work, and seeing that gives me joy. Jun-ho graduated from high school and was accepted into a good university. He chose to study architecture, saying, "I want to design homes where people can feel comfortable." I believe the experiences from his childhood deeply influenced that dream. Minho has also grown so much in his music. His piano skills improved remarkably, and he was admitted to a music middle school. His dream is to become a pianist. "I want to play music that warms people's hearts," he says. As for me, my small side dish shop has become quite well known in our neighborhood. Word has spread that my food is made with care, and now people even come from far away to buy from us. Through all of this, I came to reflect on the true meaning of home. A home is not merely a place to sleep and eat. It is where family love accumulates, where memories are built, and where dreams take root. And I realized that every single object in that space plays a role in shaping it. In a home surrounded by objects filled with good energy, a family can live in health and happiness. But in a home filled with objects carrying negative energy, the family inevitably struggles.
We've just heard the vivid testimony of Ms. Choi Young-hee. What an astonishing story. To think that a single, ordinary-looking object could alter the fate of an entire family. What do you, our listeners, make of this? Ms. Young-hee, before we close, is there any final message you'd like to share with our audience?
A home is like a vessel. If the vessel is clean and whole, the food it holds will taste good. But if the vessel is dirty or broken, even the finest food will lose its flavor. This was the advice from Grandma Park that has stayed with me the most. The truth is, it's our choices that shape the vessel we call home. Which objects we bring inside, what atmosphere we create, what kind of energy we allow to fill the space, all of it depends on us. So if you're listening right now, I encourage you to take a look around your home. Ask yourself, are there old artificial flowers lying around? Any sharp or pointed decorations? Second-hand items with unclear origins? Objects tied to painful or negative memories? And if you find them, I urge you to let them go. When you bring in something new, choose carefully. Ask whether that object will truly serve and uplift your family. Is my home protecting me, or is it pulling me down? Keep asking yourself that question. And always work toward building a home that protects, nourishes, and makes your family truly happy.